Okay, so now that we have our 4 cubes here at the corners of our base cube, we'll just let's bring up our chair again, see if that still exists somewhere. It looks like it does not. So we'll bring that back to the screen so we can see what we're doing. So we can see that the front two, so the legs in the front and back come down almost about the same length as the base of the chair is wide. So I'm going to kind of use that as a visual guide. Now what I want to do is, so we've been working in object mode most of the time. That's when the object has green outlines like this. This time we want to work in something called component mode. Specifically, we want to work in the face component mode. So a face is this, are any of these sides, so it's these little squares. Anything in between lines, or it's the shape that lines create, is a face. So if I right click and hold on this, and face is one of my options, you'll see my mouse is currently hovering over any of these faces. So I want the faces on the bottom of my chair to pull the legs down, and I want to grab the faces at each of these corners. So I can select one to grab that, and if I hold down Shift, I can select multiple faces. So you'll see that I have 4 faces selected there. I'm just going to quickly look around my object and just make sure nothing else is selected. And if I actually hit 4 on my keyboard, it goes to wireframe mode. So I can look through it and again make sure nothing else is selected. If I hit 5 on my keyboard, it goes back to smooth shaded mode. Or I should just say shaded. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to extrude down these legs. So I want to go up to Edit Mesh and Extrude, or Control E. And when I click on that, you'll see I get this new Manipulator Handle. Now this is a Manipulator Handle with every option. I've got my arrows for move, my boxes for scale, and I've got my circle for rotate. So I just want the arrow for move, so I'll just left click drag that blue arrow down. Now again, it's about the same length down as it is across for the base of the chair. So I'm just sort of eyeballing it. I'm trying to pull it down just about the same length as this chair is wide. Okay, when I'm done, I'll just hit Q on my keyboard to clear that manipulator tool, and I now have 4 evenly spaced legs on my chair. We're going to do exactly the same thing to extrude the back of my chair up. So I will just come in and we will grab those 2 back corners and we'll go again up to Edit Mesh and Extrude, and this time we are extruding up. So I'll just left click and drag that blue arrow up. And now in my reference image here, the back of the chair is certainly taller than the legs, but it's also, you can see that it's also kind of tilting backwards, like there is a bit of a bend there. So, I mean, one thing I can do is, once I raise it up, I can actually move it backwards a bit to sort of simulate the bend of that chair. And if I really wanted to, I think the faces in this chair, so the tops of those 2 poles that make up the back of the chair, I think they're slightly rotated because of course that length of wood would have been curved. So in Maya, I will click on this outside circle to activate my rotation. I'm just going to slightly rotate those, just like it is in the image. Now the next step is we want to create those slats across the back. So there's the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the Insert Cut tool, which is what we used before, first to create the sort of where the slats will come from, and then we will extrude one slat, like the slats across from one side to the other, and then we're going to connect it all together. So let's go back to our multi-cut tool, under Mesh Tools, hold down Control once again, and we'll just create the base of that first slat. Now that's created an edge loop on only one side of my object. I actually want to have edge loops on both sides, but there's a risk that if I'm doing it one at a time, those edge loops won't match up. So a thing that we actually can do is we can mirror our modeling from one side of the object to the other using something called Symmetry, which we'll do in the next video.